I would like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 17, 2025 to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Murray, Councillor and Chair of the Planning and Economic Development Committee. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit, right over there, through chamber doors, and obey all instructions given, and if assistance is required, please see the Legislative Committee coordinator. Once you have evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. Please ensure your cell phone is on silent or turned off. And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Committee of the Whole meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all of our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. Members of committee are in attendance with regrets from Councillor Pachariva and Councillor Reimer.
I believe Councillor Regima is just running a little late.
All right, we will expect Councillor Regima. We also have staff in attendance, and additionally, we have representatives from Upper Canada Consultants in attendance and a resident delegation. Item number 3 on our agenda is the declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to the confirmation of agenda. Do members have any amendments to the order of the agenda? Again, seeing none. On to item number 5, which is statutory public meetings. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. And now item number 6 is our consent agenda. We are now considering the consent agenda inclusive of the Museum Advisory Committee minutes of November 27, 2024, the Housing Select Committee minutes of December 10, 2024, Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee minutes of January 15, 2025, Heritage Advisory Committee minutes of January 16, 2025, the Public Works Update Report, Q4 2024, PW-01-25, the Town of Lincoln Municipal Drinking Water License Renewal, PW-02-25, cancellations, reductions, or refunds of taxes under Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act, FN-01-25. Would any members of committee like to remove an item from the consent agenda to discuss? Mayor Easton?
Madam Chair.
Sorry.
Madam Chair, I think it would be beneficial to the community for us to have a verbal response on the matter of 6.7, just so that we have a good understanding on, on what the causation is behind those.
So that's the cancellation and reductions
Yes.
of taxes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We'll pull that and we'll talk about that then later on in this meeting. Thank you very much. There being no further requests, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell that all items listed under the heading of consent agenda for Monday, March 17, 2025 be adopted with the exception of item 7 sorry, that's not, I don't know what the item number is. With the exception of 6.7, cancellations, reductions, or refunds of taxes under Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act, FN-01-25. Are you comfortable with how I've presented that motion, or would you like me to read it all?
Yes.
All right. I will now ask our Legislative Committee Coordinator to open the vote.
Thank you. That vote is open.
Thank you, because I wasn't looking.
And that vote is closed, and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're moving now to item number 7, the Planning and Economic Development Committee agenda. Oh, I have to knock the gavel. There we go. We have 2 delegations this evening for the Planning and Economic Development Committee agenda. Please note that delegations have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Once we have received those delegations, committee will transition directly into the report and the motion. Prior to the delegations, our planner will provide introductory comments pertaining to the draft plan of subdivision by Upper Canada Consultants for Tintern Estates. Allison, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. The draft plan of subdivision application before you this evening has been submitted to facilitate the construction of 11 low-density residential lots on a portion of land located within Tintern's rural settlement boundary. Of the 11 lots, 6 will front onto Spring Creek Road and 5 will front onto Tintern Road. The subject lands are approximately 20.5 hectares in size and are currently utilized for agricultural crop production and environmental conservation purposes, and have long been envisioned to be utilized for residential purposes through the town's official plan and zoning bylaw. Of the 20.5 hectares of land, approximately 4.5 hectares are located within the hamlet boundary. Appendix A of the staff report contains the draft plan of subdivision and demonstrates that the location and configuration of the lots can be accommodated wholly within the hamlet boundary, and the lots have been proposed strategically to avoid the regulated environmental features on site. A number of studies were submitted in support of the application, including a hydrogeological study which concluded that the proposed lots are capable of accommodating a cistern and private servicing, a Stage 1-2 archaeological assessment which concluded that there were no archaeological resources found on site, a preliminary grading plan which demonstrated that the lots can accommodate stormwater flows without negative impacts on adjacent properties, as well as a functional servicing report and a planning justification report. The application was circulated for comments, and no town departments or external agencies had concerns related to the application. And further, as noted in the staff report, Bill 23, the More Homes Built Faster Act, was enacted in November 2022 and removed the requirement to hold a statutory public meeting for draft plan of subdivision applications. However, staff wanted to ensure that neighbors and residents had an opportunity to ask questions and provide comments on the application, so an open house was held on February 12th where we received the following comments. First, a resident was concerned that the lots would have a negative impact on existing wells. However, staff have confirmed that the lots will be serviced by cisterns and private septic sewage systems and will not negatively impact existing wells. Residents were also concerned about the speed on Spring Creek Road and the impacts it may have on the addition of 6 new driveways. The staff report identified the posted speed limit as 70 kilometers per hour at this portion of road, but staff note that it's actually posted as 50 kilometers per hour. Staff acknowledged the concerns raised by residents and have confirmed with operational engineering staff that there's no safety issues related to the proposed driveways as they meet tax standards. Concerns were also raised regarding the impact of the proposed development on the existing character of the hamlet due to the required variance for a reduction in frontage for 8 of the 11 lots. Staff note that a significant portion of existing lots within the hamlet maintain a frontage that does not meet the zoning standards and opine that the proposed development is consistent with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Should the draft plan of subdivision application be approved by committee this evening and subsequently by council on March 31st, it will be a requirement that the applicant obtain a minor variance from the Committee of Adjustment to address the frontage deficiencies for the 8 of the 11 lots and apply for a subdivision agreement application to address technical components of the development. Staff are of the opinion that this application meets all provincial, regional, and town policies by directing growth to a settlement area, while also achieving a balance and compatibility with existing land uses and intensification targets, would contribute to the existing character of Tintern, would support the orderly development of the hamlet, and would not negatively impact the continued agricultural activities on the retained lands. Staff recommend approval of the application subject to the draft plan conditions attached to the report in Appendix B. I'm available to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Allison. I'm going to now pull up our delegation. So our first delegation for this evening is Joseph Tomeno from Upper Canada Consultants regarding item number 7.2.1, draft plan of subdivision by Upper Canada Consultants for Tintern Estates, PD-04-25. Joseph, please go ahead, remembering that you have 5 minutes. We do have a timer here. You'll hear it beeping, and if you have not yet finished when you hear it, please do wrap up.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. My name is Joe Tomeno. Excuse me. I'm a senior planner with Upper Canada Consultants, and I'm here on behalf of Henley Heights Construction. Ms. Martin has done a thorough job of explaining this application. I will make a brief presentation of some of the higher points of the application. The proposed development is located on the northwest corner of Spring Creek Road and Tintern Road. The subject lands have a total of 51 acres. 38 acres will continue to be farmed, and 11 acres are within the settlement area and are subject to this application. The subject lands contain a water course and natural features that will be maintained and not impacted by the proposed development. This slide shows the proposed subdivision. The subdivision creates 11 single detached lots, 6 lots fronting onto Spring Creek Road, and 5 lots fronting onto Tintern Road. No changes to the prime agriculture lands and no impacts or changes to the environmental features. All development is outside of the regulated buffers. The planning context of the application. This slide provides a summary of the relative planning policies that apply to this application. From a provincial perspective, rural settlement areas, including hamlets, should be the focus of growth in rural areas. From a regional perspective, limited growth is permitted in the rural settlements and can be sustained on private services. Thirdly, the Town of Lincoln official plan permits limited growth in the Tintern hamlet. In support of these applications, a number of studies were completed. A hydrogeological study was completed to confirm the lot sizes could accommodate private sewage systems. A functional servicing report and a lot grading report were prepared and submitted with the applications. Domestic water will be provided by individual cisterns, and the site can accommodate stormwater flows with no negative impacts to adjacent properties. In summary, the draft plan of subdivision will facilitate the creation of 11 single detached lots in the Tintern rural settlement area. Lots will maintain Tintern's residential character, and the necessary studies have been completed to support the application. That concludes my presentation, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Well within your allotted time. Well done. Are there any questions from committee to our delegation? Seeing none, thank you very much, Joseph. Our next delegation is Laura Thomas. Laura, can you please come forward? Laura, thank you very much for coming this evening, and just another reminder, 5 minutes, please. When you hear the alarm go off, please, if you're not finished, please do wrap up. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Laura Thomas, and I am a resident of Tintern, aka The Hamlet. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you about the proposed subdivision in Tintern. Firstly, I want to say that I am representing many of the residents of Tintern who have sent their signatures with me today. We recognize that the land proposed for the subdivision is zoned hamlet residential development, and that building on this land is in keeping with the town plan. Our concerns are specifically regarding the density of the proposal. We ask council to seriously consider our concerns in the process of reviewing this application. As you know, one of the objectives for the Tintern in the Town of Lincoln's official plan is to, quote, to provide for limited development in the rural settlement area while maintaining its small community character. We believe that the subdivision of 11 houses does not fulfill this objective. The only way this density is possible is with a variance that will allow lots that are smaller than the town's required footage of 45 meters. In its report, Upper Canada Consulting describes this variance as for some lots, but indeed it will be for most of the lots that it is needed, 8 out of 11. The overall effect of this minor variance is over 50 meters, greater than the frontage needed for one full lot. I hope to address the Committee of Adjustment with these concerns, so suffice to say here that the aggregate effect of the needed variance is certainly not minor. The Upper Canada Consulting report asserts that the proposed density is consistent with the existing lot sizes. I take issue with this assertion for two reasons. Firstly, The majority of lots in Tintern do conform to 45 meters frontage. It is the minority of lots that are less than 45 meters. It is mathematically incorrect and misrepresents the character of the hamlet to say that this proposal is consistent with the existing lot sizes. My second issue is that on the Spring Creek side of the development, they are proposing 6 houses, using the older houses on the south side as their example. However, on the south side, there are only 5 houses existing in the proposed area, with a little bit of overlap on the lawn of one other property. Clearly, 5 houses on the Spring Creek side is the number of houses that, 1, fulfills the town's required frontage, and 2, more accurately reflects the existing homes. Fewer houses on the Tintern Road side make a proposal of similar comparison difficult. I will point out, however, that all of the lots on the northeast side of Tintern Road do have the required frontage. Maintaining a small community character is a somewhat abstract idea not completely represented by statistics. There is one statistic, however, that can put all of these proposed changes in perspective. The number of new houses from this proposal and the previous recent but still incomplete proposal results in an 80% increase in the density in the hamlet since 2020. This cannot help but have a significant impact on the rural character of Tintern. The unnecessary density may also have a negative impact on the safety in the hamlet. I attended the open house, and I know the issues that were raised there. On page 14, the staff report concerns about road safety. Allison has corrected that. It is indeed 50 kph, not 70. However, the real concern was and is that there is a significant and unaddressed speeding problem on Spring Creek Road. Traffic regularly passes through through Tintern at a rate of speed well in excess of posted speed limits. Complicating the situation even further is that Spring Creek Road is also a bicycle route, and bicycle traffic in warm months is often quite heavy. The combination of speeding cars coming up the hill from the west with poor sightlines in an unnecessarily dense residential area with bicycle traffic is a situation to avoid. Lastly, given the recent and proposed developments will increase the housing density in the hamlet by 80%, and that there are 4 lots from the previous development that have yet to see ground broken, we think there's no need to develop at this density. Further, since none of the proposed houses fall within the category of affordable housing, reducing the number of the houses in the subdivision from 11 to 9 will have no effect on the housing issues currently facing Ontario. It will bring all of the lots in compliance with current frontage regulations and will help the town fulfill the town's plan to maintain the hamlet's small community character. We sincerely hope that you will consider all these points as this process unfolds. We know that building quotas and money may drive this decision away from the best interests of Tintern and its residents, but we are asking you to please consider all these issues for our sake. Thank you.
Well done, Laura. That was perfect timing. Thank you very much for your eloquence. Does anyone have any questions for Laura at this time? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Laura.
I do have the signatures if you want them.
Sorry, just before you step down, I'm going to bring us over to Councillor Brunet.
Yeah, through you, Chair, that was going to be my question to the delegate, was you had mentioned at the beginning that you had a document there. I'm just wondering how many signatures you have on there?
I have signatures from all but 3 of the houses that are affected by the proposal. One family's in Portugal, and I couldn't connect with the other 2, but all of the rest along Spring Creek Road and along Tintern Road have sent their signatures today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. You can give that to the legislative assistant, and she'll make sure that that's.
Okay.
Excuse me, through you, Chair. If that's a petition, there are required rules pertaining to submitting a petition online, which I can speak to you afterwards about for you to submit that to council.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No problem.
I appreciate that.
So there are no further delegations. Did anyone have any questions for Allison in terms of the report that Allison provided? Sorry, you know what? I jumped ahead. Let's not go there yet. Everybody back out. My apologies. We're going to have a motion first, and that motion is that committee receive and file for information the following delegations regarding the draft plan of subdivision by Upper Canada Consultants for Tintern Estates. Joseph Tomeno, Upper Canada Consultants, and Laura Thomas. That was moved by Councillor Timmers. Can you please open the vote?
Thank you. The vote is open. And the vote is closed, and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we get to the point where we will now consider the report for the draft plan of subdivision by Upper Canada Consultants for Tintern Estates, PD-04-25. Do members of committee have any questions? And we'll start with Councillor Timmers. Councillor Timmers, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair Murray. So through you to Allison, I have a couple of questions. So first off is about wells. I know there was a letter sent from a resident in the area who has concerns around the well, and I know that the houses would have cisterns, but my question is, if the property or the house changes hands, will the well restriction remain with the new owner? Or if they sell and then a new owner buys it and decides they want to put a well in, what would be the procedure there, and how do we prevent that?
Thank you, and through you. As part of the subdivision agreement application process, there are draft conditions that have to be cleared, one of which is a requirement that the lots only be serviced by cisterns. So there'll be no potential wells put in to service these lots in the future.
In the future forever? Or, like, how would we monitor that?
Thank you, and through you. I may ask the Director of Planning and Development to comment.
Thank you. Matt, please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, those conditions will be reflected, the conditions of the subdivision agreement would also be reflected in the conditions of the purchase and sale agreements as well. In terms of regulation, they can be, sometimes those types of agreements aren't between us and the future homeowner, but we can make sure that by virtue of our agreements, which is what we enter into, that those provisions are included and they are intended to be carried forward in all subsequent transfers of the property.
Okay, that's very good, thank you. Through you, Chair. So the future homes, if they are to be built, there will be abutting agricultural lands. And I know I've lived this experience, so sometimes there can be conflicts. And I know that there was something in the report around the owners being aware of the agricultural land and the activities that happen on those lands. Is that correct? Through you, Chair, to whoever wants to take that, Director Bruder?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. Us being a town that's largely rural in nature, we do have these interfaces often. Usually how they get notified, or the property owners are made aware, the future property owners that is there are warning clauses, again, that are included in the purchase and sale agreements of the property that pertain to these. We include them in our subdivision agreement to be carried forward and executed as part of those future transfer agreements. So by virtue of that, that's how we recognize that transition, that interface with agricultural operation.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question.
You have one more.
And then I will leave some of the questions for everyone else that's in the queue. Excuse me. Around the traffic and speed concerns, I do know that Spring Creek Road, there are major issues with speeding in that area. And maybe through to Director Graham, is there something that we could do moving forward, something more new that could be implemented, maybe to slow people down when they're entering that hamlet area? Director Graham?
Through you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Councillor, for the question. Yeah, absolutely, we can, put this on our radar more, so to speak, with our speed counting programs. We'd be happy to monitor that area, more closely, look at, what's happening out there in terms of actual speeding and traffic characteristics. And yeah, we're always open to how we can improve certain situations, especially when you have kind of the that rural sort of cross-section of road transitioning into a hamlet. You know, we can look at different strategies to do there to help with, you know, traffic calming. And also be happy to have the similar conversations with the police, make them aware that it is a concern, and so they can be aware of that as well.
Very good. Thank you very much, Director Graham, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Mikulik, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Through you to Allison or Matt. Further along to Director Dave Graham's response, is there a possibility that there could be a four-way stop at that intersection that would slow traffic right to a stop? If there's a call for it with an additional traffic count with the newer houses?
Director Graham, please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor, thanks for the question. That's something we could look at. I don't know if it has been looked at to date, but we can look at warrants. We'd have to go through a traffic study warrant to see if an always stop would be supported. We could do that. We'd be happy to take a look at that, but
Okay.
I'm not sure what the outcome would be at this point in time.
Again, I'm not aware of I'm not aware of the traffic counts in that area either, but I'm just suggesting that as a possibility in the future, that with the additional number of houses and residents in that area, that, you know, it might be something to look at in the future. And then another question with regards to the roads themselves that these new houses would be fronting. Are they in good shape? Like, are they proper width roads? Are they suitable to accommodate six lots on one road and 8 on another? As far as the ditching, the road widths, and this sort of thing.
Through you, Madam Chair, it's my understanding that they do follow, these roads that are here, they follow a typical cross-section, you know, transitioning from a rural area into a rural hamlet area. So I would say yes, there already are a number of lots fronting on both of those roads. I know that we've talked about some concerns with respect to speeding, and those are things that you heard Director Graham say we're going to be looking into. But generally, from a cross-section perspective and from a drainage perspective, these roads are functional, and they're sufficient to accommodate whatever might come of these additional lots that are proposed to be added.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm asking that question just because when you have more people within an area, there probably will be more people walking within that area. So I want to make sure that the roads are themselves safe for people to walk alongside of and, you know, not inadvertently be hit by a car. Thank you. Those are my 2 questions.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mikulik. Councillor Russer, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Allison or potentially Director Bruder. In terms of Mrs. Thomas's concerns about density and lot sizes, I wonder if you can give a little bit of insight into, again, what the other forms of zoning requirements are for lot sizes compared to hamlet zoning. So I know that in the report it mentions that because it's a hamlet, again, it's one of the larger requirements. What does that compare to some of the other locations?
Through you, Madam Chair. Councillor, you're referring to other areas just kind of within the town, like, for example, our other urban areas? Okay. They're definitely a lot more generous in terms of frontage. Some of that is just by virtue that coincides with the lot sizes that are needed for private servicing. Generally speaking, though, if you looked at some of our other kind of urban areas, Jordan, Vineland, Beamsville, your frontages for a single would go down to something like 15, 17 meters, somewhere around there. So it's a significant reduction, maybe 19. No more than that, though. So obviously, recognizing the rural nature of these hamlet areas, the required frontages are larger. But then again, in each of our hamlet areas, Tintern included, there are a significant variation in the frontages there. I know, generally speaking, that, you know, I heard that there are, you know, at least half of them that comply. That's true. I think out of the 32 lots that are in Tintern now, 15 of them would meet or would not meet the lot frontage requirements, some being smaller with what's proposed, some right around there. So we have to recognize in every area there's a variation that occurs over time before some of our zoning regulations were put in place. But generally speaking, yeah, these frontages that are proposed here are significantly larger than you would see in other urban areas of the town.
Okay, thank you. And a follow-up question through you, Madam Chair. Was there any discussion with the developer to try to maintain the hamlet requirements of having that 45-meter frontage for all the properties?
Through you, Madam Chair. Well, obviously, there's back and forth. We hear concerns, input brought forward, and we engage with the applicant team on all of these things. Moving forward, though, when we looked at the fabric that's proposed compared to what's already there, this isn't a situation that's lending itself to the result being smaller lots. They're all meeting, and in fact exceeding, the lot size requirements. So if they are a little bit short on the frontages, again, looking at some of the other lots that are already there, a number of them, and looking at the variation within that and where these requested variances fall in for these lots, staff were comfortable bringing them forward as is because they fall well within that range.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Russell. Councillor Brunet, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Murray. So I appreciate the comments occurring with regards to community safety and speeding. And Councillor Timmers, as I guess being the ward councillor up there, I appreciate her comments to Director Graham. I guess I just wanted to speak to an email that I received back on November the 20th, 2024, when the sign appeared on the property for the public notice. And I did receive an email directly from a family that lives adjacent to where this development is going to be. We happen to know the family quite well, so he engaged in some conversations. And at that point, back in November, I did send an email to Director Graham as well as Director Bruder and CAO Kirkopoulos, just relaying the information from the resident and the concern. And some of this discussion tonight speaks to some ambiguity about 50 kilometers and 70. But the fact remains that apparently there is a dangerous blind corner there. And whether this development occurs or it doesn't occur, there appears to be a direct concern about community safety and speeding, as Councillor Timmers has alluded to. So in this email, I just want to be on the record. I sent an email and I asked if black cat radar could be investigated at the blind corner and what modifications and signage could be implemented, because the residents really feel that there needs to be some signage implemented there for community safety. So on behalf of this family and any other residents that live in that area that might be concerned, I felt I needed to pass that along and appreciate any comments further from staff on that matter. Thank you, Chair.
Do we have any comments from staff on that? Director Graham?
Through you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Councillor. We definitely are taking that earlier email seriously. I know with our Black Cat radar program, so that's where we collect speed and do speed monitoring. That is starting very soon in the spring. So this area will be top of the list for that. So we'll be looking at that with our monitoring program. And once we collect some data out there with speeding, it will further assess the curve or the blind corner concern and see what else we can do there to help the situation after we collect some of the data that is planned to happen with our program in the spring.
Thank you very much, Director Graham. Councillor Brunet, did that resolve your question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate that response from Director Graham and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mayor Easton, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, it's come to my attention as this discussion has been going on that I need to declare a conflict of interest. The conflict is more of to inform the public of my relationship to the Priest family, which is on Tintern Road. And I haven't seen an application, but I understand there is another application coming forward from a member of that family. That applicant would be my great niece. I'm declaring a conflict, and I'm not going to be voting on this at all, on either of them, and I'll fill out the paperwork for the clerks.
Thank you very much for that, Mayor Easton. Councillor Mikulik, would you like to go ahead, please?
Thank you. We're hearing about this hamlet, we're hearing about the village, the nature of the village, and I'm looking at the overall urban boundary of this village. Is there, through you to Director of Planning, is there any further possibility of further development within this hamlet? As I don't see too many other parcels that might be, has staff looked at that at all?
Through you, Madam Chair, yeah, generally speaking, yeah, this kind of rounds out the significant area within the actual hamlet, that could be developed. There's other, I think, lots now that are awaiting development as well, but in terms of extra area for another plan of subdivision or anything like that within that, no, this pretty much constitutes the bulk of what could be in terms of lots being created in that hamlet.
Okay, so basically it's pretty much filling up this, all right.
That's
thank
correct.
you.
All right. Seeing that there is no further discussion, I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers. The committee approved draft plan of subdivision application PLSUB-2024-001 in the name of Henley Heights Construction, Inc., in accordance with the plan outlined in Appendix A and in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act and the regulations thereunder, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix B of Report PD-04-25. That all parties be advised of committee's decision on the draft plan of subdivision application in accordance with provincial regulations. That the Director of Planning and Development be authorized to endorse the draft plan as approved 20 days after notice of committee's decision has been given, provided that no appeals against the decision have been filed. That the applicant be advised that draft approval of this plan will lapse 3 years from the date of draft approval unless committee grants an extension of the approval period. If an extension is requested, an updated review and revisions to the contracts of draft approval may be necessary at that time. And committee declare that they have considered all of the written and oral submissions and agree with the planning report analysis and recommendations, and find that, subject to the conditions of approval, this application meets the Planning Act criteria, is consistent with the provincial planning statement and the Niagara Region official plan and the town official plan. I will now ask our legislative committee coordinator to open that vote.
Thank you, and the vote is open. And the vote is closed, and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I am going to let Deanna say something. How's that?
Thank you, Chair. At this time, we'll move the gavel to Councillor and Vice Chair Lynn Timmers for the General Business and Finance Committee agenda.
We will now begin the General Business and Finance Committee agenda. We have no delegations. Under reports, we have no reports. We will now consider the consent item that was lifted for discussion. Deanna, did you have, go ahead. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. The item is cancellations, reductions, or refunds of taxes under Section 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act, Report FN 0125.
Thank you very much. So this item was pulled from the consent, so I will open it up for questions. Mayor Easton?
Thank you very much,
Madam Chair. Sorry, there we go.
Recall seeing this specific report in the past. but I would be interested to know what, what the approach is that is taken. I'm just going to, it appears in the way that the report is written that an error has been made. So I think it's always a good idea to know to what extent the error could be expected and to what extent, maybe the methodology that we were using at the time made the error even possible. So I don't even know who's here tonight to answer
Okay.
this.
Thank you, Mary Stan. I do see Kate online,
Thanks, Kate.
so I will turn it over to Kate.
Good, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the mayor. So there are a number of reasons under Section 357 and 358 that a reduction or cancellation of taxes may occur. So yes, gross or manifest clerical and factual error may be one of them. Unfortunately, we can't discuss specific roll numbers and the impacts in this forum. That would have to be brought into a confidential section, but normally it would occur when there is a change in a tax class or if there's an error in an assessment. So it's coming from MPAC and the roll, not necessarily by any error made by the town.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Kate. I wasn't expecting any specifics to be referred to. I understand the importance and necessity of not doing that, and your explanation was quite clear. And maybe in the future, the report could be written in such a way as it's clear where the issue came from. I'm not interested in laying blame on them either. I just don't want the public to feel a lack of confidence in how matters like this would be approached.
Thank you for your feedback. We will.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mary Stan. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing Councillor Bernay. Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through you to Kate. So just a follow-up question to Mayor Easton's comments, because when I was reading this in preparation for the meeting, I was sitting there thinking the same thing. I don't ever recall in the 10 and a half years that I've been on council that I've seen a report of this nature come forward as a report to council. So I'm just wondering, is there any historical data in the last 10 years of this coming before council? Is this I don't even know what word to use. Is it abnormal to see this? Is this a standard practice, or I'm just trying to understand what's happening here.
Go ahead,
And
Kate.
through you, Madam. Sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair. This is a very common report brought forward to council for their information on any of the applications that have been processed by staff through their delegated authority. So while you may not have seen this necessarily in Lincoln in the past few years, it is very common through the local area municipalities.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you very much. Through you to Kate. Just curious, what budget does this come out of? Which budget does this is affected by this?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor. So there is a provision within the general town expenses for write-offs. So this is something that we do anticipate every year, as there are, demolitions, there are unfortunately fires that happen. So we have made provisions for this, and this year we are under that amount.
Okay, so just to clarify, we do set up an account for these sorts of instances, let's say bad debts or who knows what, and write-offs and that sort of thing.
Not so much for bad debts. We do have to deal with that in a different manner, but in terms of section 357 and 358, tax write-offs or cancellations, yes, we do have an account set up.
Okay, specific. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Russell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Kate. Again, I know we can't get into specifics, but I'm just curious. I'm going to create a fictional site. Let's say a site was demolished, and for whatever reason, we did not know about it for 3 years, or we'll say 4 years. Where would the miscommunication be happening that we don't know that that happened, and we're still taxing them on it? Would that be the potentially that the owner did not seek a permit for demolition, and therefore that's how it did not come, like the chain of information didn't come back to the town, or is it something that I'm missing?
Through you, Madam Chair. So yes, that is possible that a demolition does occur without a permit. Now, these 357 and 358, I mean, technically we are supposed to receive an application from the property owner in order to start the process for this particular write-off of the taxes. Now, in some cases, such as fire, we do hear about it and start the process for the property owner, but yes, in terms of demolition, if a permit is not pulled through the building department, it is possible that we would not find out about the change in use in the property.
Okay, thank you. And Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up. So if there was a situation where a site did demolish something on their property, how would we go about ascertaining how that miscommunication happened, whether it was the owner of the property, and find out if they have then been, if there's a fine that comes from the planning department because they did not submit or request a permit to offset maybe these losses in revenue? I know, again, without getting into specifics on actual cases, because it's not supposed to do that, but in fictional land.
Yes, yes. Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor. So it would be possible. I mean, we typically tend to find out when the property owner gets their next tax bill and realizes there hasn't been an adjustment made for the loss of whatever building happened to be on the property. That's normally how those come through. That's normally the case. I really can't think of too many other examples other than being notified by the property owner themselves, because it is a significant reduction for the most part when the building is removed and the land turns into vacant land.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. So I have no one else in the queue. So Deanna, if you could read the motion, please.
Thank you, Chair. Could I get a mover for that? Councilor Murray, thank you. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm just going to read it. It's that committee receive and file report FNO 125 regarding the cancellations, reductions, or refunds of taxes under sections 357 and 358 of the Municipal Act 2001 for the taxation years 2023 to 2024. Can I get a show of hands, please? All in favor? Thank you. And that carries.
Thank you very much, Deanna. So I will now turn the gavel back to Chair Murray for the next portion of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Councillor Timmers. We are now on item number 10 in our agenda, which is confidential items. Before I read the motion and we move into closed, I would like to explain what will happen for those watching this meeting online. First, there will be a closed session statement that the Legislative Committee Coordinator will go through for staff that will be attending the closed session remotely. Once that is completed, we will move on with the motion to move into closed. The Legislative Committee Coordinator will be turning off the live webcast during the closed portion of the meeting. Once we have completed the closed portion of the meeting, we will resume with the live webcast and carry on with the public portion of the meeting, and will read the motions in public session. I will now ask the Legislative Committee Coordinator to conduct the closed session statement for those attending the closed session remotely.
Thank you, Chair. All members are reminded that any discussions in closed session are to remain confidential as per our procedural bylaw and our code of conduct for the Council of the Town of Lincoln. Before we begin, I need each member that is attending electronically to confirm the following: that you understand that matters are to remain confidential, and confirm no one else is present with you, confirm no one else can hear this closed session, confirm that you are not using any electronic devices other than your tablet, computer, or telephone for the video conferencing, and confirm that you are not recording this portion of the meeting. If you acknowledge all of the above, please reply with "I understand" and confirm to all of the statements as I read your name aloud. Recreation and Events Coordinator, Lori Laird.
I understand and confirm to all of the statements.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet. Under Section 239 of the Municipal Act, notice is hereby given that committee adjourn to closed session in order to address items 10.1 as follows. Pursuant to Section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employee, as it pertains to the Age-Friendly and Active Community Advisory Committee. I will now ask our Legislative Committee Coordinator to open that vote. Deanna?
Thank you, Chair. That vote is open. And the vote is closed, and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deanna. Our Legislative Committee Coordinator will now proceed with the technical requirements to move into closed session. All right. I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell that committee resume in open session.
Thank you. That vote is open.
I did verbally change that to Councillor Russell.
Oh, sorry, I'll make sure that it has the right mover. Thank you. Counselor Micklick, your vote? That vote is now closed and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deanna. I now have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers that committee receive and file the confidential update and that staff move forward as directed in closed session as it relates to item 10.1 pursuant to section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employee, as it pertains to the Age-Friendly and Active Community Advisory Committee. I will now ask our legislative committee coordinator to open that vote.
And that vote is open. The vote is closed and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now on item 11. Excuse me, committee remarks. Do we have any committee remarks? Councillor Russell, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very quickly, through you to the CAO. Again, the cancellations, reductions, and refunds of taxes, again, it being something that was very new. Again, I had some thoughts on it after the fact, and I know that we have a chance when we ratify at our next council meeting. I'm wondering if we can just get a confirmation from staff that all of those properties on there that had a demolition, if they did receive a permit. I just don't want to have any opportunity for giving grace where maybe it was not deserved on a tax rebate. So just wonder if we can get a confirmation of that before the next meeting.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor. I did get your email, councillor, and between Directors Bruder and Kate, we will get back to council before that ratification.
Thank you. There being no further business, I call this meeting adjourned at 7:10 p.m. Thank you.